Valrie. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Got it.
It's all you.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us on the One More Minute podcast. Today, I am joined with Cedrick Valrie here, who's going to be running for mayor here in the great city of Lakeland. Cedrick, thanks for joining me, man.
Oh, yes. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course. Well, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but I think these kind of conversations, like about our city, what we love, are important. To hear a little bit about you, who you are as a person. I've thought about with local elections in the past, you kind of get there and you just see two names. Maybe there's not a lot of resources to really get to know the person behind that name.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully that's what we're providing for people here in our city. So maybe tell us a little bit about like just yourself, like kind of getting to know who Cedrick is.
Yeah. So I am a Christ follower. I love Lakeland. I've been working in the private sector, particularly Southeastern University as a theology professor for the last decade or so. My wife, Sarah Valrie, and I have four amazing kids, ages 13, 11, 8, and 5. We are novice homesteaders, and we'll be soon inviting you and bringing you into our space in our backyard, just kind of having some teaching and engaging moments about what it means to be a homesteader, a new farmer, if you will. Enjoy learning, enjoy teaching, enjoy getting to know people. And as I am getting to know Lakeland even better, I'm excited about what's to come.
That's awesome, man. How long have you been in Lakeland? When did you move here?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we met in college and fell in love. And so we've raised our family here for the last decade or so more. So.
That's awesome. And you said it's Southeastern is where you graduated, right?
Southeastern, that's right.
Yeah, that's where I graduated too. Great school. It's crazy how much, because you went there what year?
So, out of high school, 2002.
Yeah.
And
changed a lot.
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
My personal growth alone has changed. How I talk to my kids, my relationship with my wife, just how I treat people in general, including myself, has changed so much. Personal growth. Yeah.
And that's awesome, man. Yeah. Southeastern's a great school. And obviously it's a huge part of like our city here in Lakeland with the number of colleges. Now that you've been there for quite a long time, tell us a little bit about like your role there, and I guess how that's helped you maybe develop a little bit of love and passion for people who start to move into Lakeland and call that home.
Yeah. When I had the opportunity to become a professor full-time at the university, I think it was around 2011, and the opportunity came my way, and it was new to me. I was new to it. But yet I realized that everything I had done up to that point had prepared me for that next step.
Yeah.
And walking into the classroom, getting to know the students, realizing there were serious needs and or barriers there in their lives, I decided to slow down in the classroom, and instead of just blasting them with content, I took the first 2 or 3 weeks just to care and listen to where they were. And I realized in being and engaging with them, being honest with them, and just listening to them, I knew where they were mentally and emotionally, and how to help them bridge that gap between what the reality of the pain in their lives to the current content. Crossing that bridge, they were more engaged, they were ready, and it created a culture in the classroom of care and learning.
Yeah. It feels like, just even from getting to know you now, like you have a very like pastoral heart and like caring heart. Has that always been like the case for you?
It has. Being Christ-centered and others focused. In fact, that's part of the campaign speech for you. It is, hey, I will listen. I know how to be mindful of the dignity of everyone's humanity, whether we agree or disagree or not.
Sure.
But you walk away feeling like, that guy heard me. He listened to me. He understands my position.
Yeah, that's huge. It's actually interesting. Like, I feel like I've had a lot of conversations about that throughout the year. This show is, being able to hear someone else's opinions and not necessarily agree with them, maybe, but also being able to be respectful and kind. And I feel like we're missing a lot of that, in today's world, and that can be like a difficult conversation, especially when you get into start talking about politics. How do you I guess, how have you approached that conversations with others? Like, I guess you said a little bit about that, but like how you maybe, approach that with people you don't necessarily agree with, or having those type of respectful conversations.
Yeah, when it comes to any type of disagreement or conflict or opposing stance on issues, I think the one of the goals for me anyway is to find the gold. And the gold is, even though we may have a difference of opinion, what is something that was said that maybe I need to think twice about? Because there is some truth on either side. At the same time, there's that reality of saying, okay, how can I better see them? And how, based on what they've said now, how is it going to help me to gauge the situation a bit better, have a better handle on it, knowing that it's going to impact all of us at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. It feels like a great leadership quality to own that, okay, I obviously am sticking to my beliefs, but I also know that I'm not perfect, and I'm open to hearing other opinions and open to be able to like explore them.
Correct.
Well, obviously we're here talking about like you running for mayor here within Lakeland. Tell me a little bit about how you came to this decision to hey, I'm going to run for the mayor.
Being one that carries that care component with him in everything that I do. There comes a time, I think, where we all know that we're made for more. There's more to be done and more that we can be a part of, any team to help move the ball forward and move the needle forward, if you will. And behind the scenes and having multiple conversations with my wife, just saying, I'm not sure what that looks like, what that may be. I do know that generally speaking, every team that I've been a part of, God has blessed and it has done very well because of the collective voices working together to make the best possible decision. And so, after talking with a few leaders in the community and just kind of doing a little seismic testing, if you will, hey, what are your thoughts here? What do you see? What do you think about me entering this arena? And just kind of seeing the thumbs up all the way, just, hey, let's go for it. I trust you. I believe in you. I've seen you work behind the scenes and private service. Now let's see what that looks like in public service. And so I filed a run.
That's awesome, man. When you made this decision, I'm assuming sometime this year, what's that process been like of going, hey, okay, I'm going to do this, to figuring out the steps of like, okay, now that I'm doing this, here's what I have to do to prepare?
Yeah. With every new season, there is something new to learn, right? And I like to consider myself to be a lifelong learner. There are moments where it's like, okay, there are, the dad who's teaching his kid to ride the bike, and the kid is building confidence with training wheels on. It's like, oh, finally I got it. When it comes to this process, it's realizing, okay, I am learning a lot about our city. At the same time, I'm realizing that there is a need for the diverse voices in that, those voices that care for the city, those voices that want to make a contribution, and those voices that says, hey, I'm all in. And in that regard, and traveling from North Lakeland and South Lakeland, listening to the citizens just speak what concerns them, what they care about, it has given me even a greater drive to say, I see that we can do some things together to continue to build on and to make Lakeland even a better place.
Certainly, yeah. You mentioned there too, like you're like hearing the voices of Lakeland, right? We do have I feel like we have a unique city, and where it is pretty like stretched out. There's differences of the people's experience, maybe on the north side of town, south side, central Lakeland, all of that. I'd be curious your experience, because obviously going to the role of mayor, from what I understand, is the top role here in our city as far as politically speaking. Like, and then you're overseeing a lot of voices that are affecting change. What experiences do you have, or that you're bringing into this, that have given you maybe some experiences in high level leadership like that?
Yeah. I think one is the reality of leaning on the voices of wisdom that are around you, those who have led at high levels, as well as those who are experts in the field. And you don't necessarily have to be the smartest person in the room, but there's something about being able to receive the insights that's needed to move forward to help make the best decision. And so, being a professor, there are moments when you wear the role of an administrator. There are moments when you're wearing the hat of a social worker, a counselor, a pastor, so many things that students need, that it helps you to make an informed decision. And so, and listening to the various voices throughout our city, it helps then to give direction and shine the light in areas that may be dark, in areas that maybe we're challenged by, but in leaning on the experts and listening to the voices of wisdom around us that love this place and call it home, it helps to execute a decision that is a good resolve for all.
Yeah. So it sounds like the goal then would be for you potentially stepping into the mayoral seat in the later part of this year is surrounding yourself with the wise counsel, the voices like that. Is that something, I guess is that something you've been assembling of like a team there?
Oh, yes. And it's amazing because I appreciate a team who is not only capable, but a team who's willing to push back a little bit and say, hey, are we thinking about this? Or what about that? And I feel like I can work with anyone. I love a team who is talented, who's creative, who's passionate about what they're doing, especially their city. And you know that you can move the needle forward anywhere, even in the toughest of situations, political climate or economic climate.
Yeah, and obviously we're in a unique time politically, I feel like in our world as well. So I'm sure there's some pressures and thoughts that come in with that. I'd be curious, you mentioned this a couple times. You said the voices and things you hear, maybe concerns across Lakeland. Are there things maybe right now that are standing out to you as like things you'd love to address if you obviously are moving into the seat of mayor? Like maybe issues in Lakeland or something like that?
Yeah. I believe in being a bridge. And what does it look like then to help the college students who are about to graduate to continue to see Lakeland as home and finding jobs in their particular fields with the experts who are already doing what they want to do, whether it's construction, whether it's education, or even civics itself. And I think the city can lead the way in bridging that gap even more, because then we're looking at the future economy. We're looking at the future of future families who will call Lakeland home and get involved in civics and all that Lakeland has to offer there also. So I also see no matter where we go, the health and strength of our families. It makes a difference. I am one. I am pro-family. We have 4 kids of our own. We'll love to have about 12 more to that, if you will, if I guess follow Mayor Mutz's lead in that regard. But what does it look like to stand up and speak up for families, even when it comes to issues that may be a source of tension? But I'll be that type of candidate to still speak up and do what's good and healthy for the families in the short term and the long term. I appreciate our developers, and I love the creativity that they bring to the table. I love their talents and giftings, and I know that in Lakeland we cultivate generosity. That's to be emulated, I think, across the country. And how do you bring those, what does it look like? What would it look like to bring those developers to the table and say, instead of gentrification in certain areas, what if we focused on neighborhood revitalization, where there is a lifting up of those in those communities, as opposed to a scattering or displacing as gentrification typically bring about?
Yeah. Do you see that as kind of a current issue or path that Lakeland's moving towards?
Yeah. I mean, I see it, and I also know that, hey, for these people who have been displaced, how are we helping them, in the process as well? Again, that care component that comes to the table, as opposed to, just wanting to have my way. Hey, let's also look out for what's good for the people overall.
For sure. Yeah. And genuine thought here too between those two, because and I know there's potentially never like a perfect scenario of like how do you handle both of those?
Yeah, of course.
Like you mentioned there, like obviously the ability we have multiple great colleges here in our area. Polytech's not far, Polk State, all that. As well as Florida Southern and Southeastern. So like creating jobs obviously is a great great thing for Lakeland, creating those type of roles for people who do graduate to find a home in Lakeland and to do what they feel called to do.
Right.
And obviously doing that requires expansion within Lakeland. I know like a couple of weeks ago, there's the announcement of, revitalization, or whatever you want to call it, on Memorial, and obviously the downtown area expanding. So I'm assuming that's maybe a little bit what we're talking about, and some of the gentrification and things like that. I hope I'm making sense here. What's the pull there between, like, Lakeland is clearly a very expanding city. How do we continue to grow? And I guess not displace people, like you say, but help, find the placement for how our city grows, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think in communities like that, that we are a well-run city, and I think that we can do a great job at follow-up with those individuals who have been displaced, and what does that look like? And that can give us a pulse for how to best serve them and the needs that they currently have, given that they're no longer living in the place that they've called home for decades.
Yeah, certainly. Do you feel like, I know there's probably two sides of that. There's people who are in certain areas that are getting displaced by growth. Obviously, we have a lot of homeless ministries within Lakeland, and so we do have a great resource for that. Is that kind of a piece what you're talking about too, of how do we continue to grow those ministries or find the right areas for them?
I think that is a piece, and I think a part of that piece is being addressed even currently with some of the 2030 comprehension plan that's being put forth. I'm particularly speaking to those single moms and dads, those families who are working 2 or 3 jobs, are trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
While we have the affordable housing for our workforce and things of that nature, then what does it also look like, even in hearing from some of our realtors, what does that affordable housing piece look like for those mom and dads who are trying to make ends meet, who are working hard, working their fingers to the bone, giving it the best they've got? Let's also be mindful of them as well.
Certainly, yeah, that's a tough, I was just talking to my wife about that the other night. There's I saw this video on how the percentage of increase of home prices across the nation compared to the percentage of increase in salaries. And it's so far. The gap is crazy.
Yes.
It's very difficult now to buy a home. And I'm sure that's a whole nother bag, and maybe not even necessarily the full roles of mayor, but are overseeing a city to help equip for that. I would be curious, you mentioned, kind of going back just a little bit there too, we talked about Lakeland is obviously a growing city. We've seen so much expansion in the years that I've been here, since you've been here in 2002. I'm sure you've seen how much growth has happened. And, there was a report, I think from Mayor Mutz, maybe it was a year or so ago, about the projected growth for 2030 or beyond, and how many people are potentially moving to this area and calling Lakeland home. How do you maybe as a mayor going into those for future years see healthy growth or plan for growth in Lakeland?
Yeah, there's again future focus for you as part of what our messaging in the campaign. And when back to the developers again, we have some amazing talent here, and these are the type of experts, as well as the engineers and city planners. These are the type of men and women who have already proven themselves to be just a gold for our city, if you will. Leaning on them even more so to say, let's bring even our best ideas to the table, to say, here's how we chart the course forward. And then that will also mean for city leadership sometimes having to make some tough decisions. Even with the current plans that we have, we're talking about, what does sustainability look like? What does that mean for pricing in different areas? And that's where I'm willing to say, hey, in listening to the people and seeing our needs, both for the future and the current realities of our families now, let's be willing to lean into also doing the hard things.
Yeah,
it's like,
certainly.
Yes. So not only are we people as Americans, as Lakelanders, not only can we do hard things, there are just moments where we have to do hard things, including make decisions that say, hey, to sustain where we're going and what we have, we need to consider making these tough decisions.
For sure. Yeah. You mentioned there too, kind of the stuff that Lakeland's currently going through right now. let's say, like, obviously you step into the mayoral role in November, right? Would be like the elections.
Correct, November.
So
be sure to vote.
What do you
November
feel?
4th.
November 4th. What do you feel like? Do you kind of know right now? You mentioned some of the stuff that the government's talking about and all that. What would you be stepping into that would be like are you aware of anything that you be stepping into right now that's like a top priority or major concern?
Yeah, as far as building, of course, I appreciate density. I appreciate when it comes to we're seeing apartment complex and homes sprout up like mushrooms, which it's speaking to an issue that we have as far as the growth, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Now, at the same time, you have areas like streets, roadways, waterways, sewers, all of these things. Some could say infrastructure at the same time, and just speaking in everyday language, these impact us, the things that impact us that we don't even see, and these things can be quite carry a very stout price tag, and yet it needs to be done. And let's just say with federal and state dollars, while those levels of income do help, there also will have to be something more that we're doing in the city to move those projects along as well.
Certainly, yeah. I feel like the conversation will come up. Obviously, there's a large budget. I imagine you're overseeing there too for the mayoral seat.
About $731 million for this fiscal year coming up.
Just a little bit. Yeah. What has prepared you to kind of help oversee such a large scope of project and such a large budget?
Yeah. When it comes to, I believe in kitchen table economics. 2 + 2 still equals 4. And what's amazing, as I mentioned earlier, you have a team of individuals around you speaking into the process as well to help bring that balance, to help bring that accountability, to help keep focus on the main things that are before us. And so I think we have great leaders, financial directors, as well as city managers doing a great job there. So it's not just on one individual, which is what I appreciate about our structure here. As a family man, raising a family of 6 on one income, my wife as a stay-at-home mom, doing an amazing job teaching our kids. We're homeschoolers as well, awesome. And so we have to watch the budget, and we do. And so and things are paid ahead of time and on time, and we're good there. And that's because of the budget. Different opportunities through Southeastern University to manage different budget opportunities as well, and serving on the board at a growing and thriving church, and speaking to the financial process there from time to time, fundraising, even for the mayoral campaign. But even there was a time at Southeastern University and working in the advancement department years ago and raising funds for students. When it comes to the funds, there is something to be said about the income and the outcome. And we realize that while you have your investors, you also have that reality of how that is managed. And so when it comes to management, I believe in being mindful of, we're going to stay within our budget. At the same time, we have to be mindful of what's coming, given the projects we're taking on, in order to sustain the completion of the project and the budget for each fiscal year as the budget fluctuates, right?
For sure.
And
there's so many nuances and so many things to deal with when you get up to that seat of like the mayoral seat, right? I'd be curious for you, obviously stepping into that role. I'm sure there's, like we've talked throughout this conversation here, there's so many things you'd love to see and accomplish. Is there, like, let's say, like you step into that role in November, is there like a top 3 of like, hey, this is what I really want to accomplish in my first year as the mayor of Lakeland? I don't know, or maybe even top 2 if there's something like that.
Yeah, there is that, our youth is the next generation. And even for those who are graduating high school, those who are in college, who have not even registered to vote yet, hey, come on. There's your input into what's going on in your city matters.
For sure.
There are Lakelanders who are fully engaged on the national level, the state level of what's going on civically and politically. But when it comes to local politics, when it comes to local civic engagement, they're more hands off. So I want to increase that number of the disengaged, doubting, or done with civil politics to say, hey, your voice matters. We want you to be a part of what's going on in our city, because one day it's going to be in your hands.
Sure.
I want to, our youth who are looking for something to do, those who are night owls, hey, let's create some pathways for them to engage, to use that energy in a healthy way. And maybe there's ways that we bring in law enforcement there as well to say, hey, maybe there are 3-on-3 basketball games in the evening times where they're getting to know each other. So being mindful of the college students who want to call Lakeland home later on, to raise their families here, to be a part of its growth and its sustainability. Let's continue to carve out ways, just like we've done with other areas of our city, whether it's CRA, LDA. We can create opportunities for partnerships to make this happen with our local experts as well as our college students. And so I would say, of course, we know housing is a thing. Let's make sure that we're taking care of our elderly as well as those single parents.
For sure,
those hardworking families who are trying to make ends meet. And I know we have quite a few things in play now. At the same time, let's make them a priority.
For sure.
And so these are a few things that I'm really
valuing.
I'm focused on, and I think that Lakeland is such a community. It's so service oriented. I want to let's keep that going.
Yeah, for sure. I love all of that. I love the thought too there from the very first one is, I think you're right. I think there's probably a reality right now where a lot of the younger people who are kind of stepping into that age where they have the ability to vote maybe find themselves disinterested. And I don't know, maybe I'm making a generalization, but like I think I hear some of them maybe just as disinterested in voting, or there's probably the reality of our local politics sometimes find themselves like this year after a major like national political season last year. And so there's probably some fatigue there. People are just a little bit over it. So how do we engage people into understanding that this is actually very important for how you live, as in like in the city you live? What are some of the ways, I guess, you would want to engage or draw that out in young people in Lakeland? Are there any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's going to have to boots on the ground, door to door. I think creating spaces where their voices are heard and that they see some of those realities that they just voice within a matter of weeks or so. Go, oh, wow. This guy is serious about bringing us along and us teaming together to make this happen. I think helping them to see the value of their vote and being mindful of the process and how it impacts them today and tomorrow. And for those who are apathetic, helping them to see the reasons to care. And again, going back to being in the classroom, it's part of my goal is to help them to value education, to value why they should care about how they think and what they think. Well, I think the same is true when it comes to local civics. To help them to see the value of it, that it's important for them today and tomorrow, and whether they are involved or not, it will impact them to a greater or lesser degree.
It's putting a magnifying glass on like what is like actually happening and making sure.
That's
like even the last, is it 8 years that we've had of Mayor Mutz, personally, like obviously knowing him and loving that family and seeing the impact that they've had.
He's great.
Just over our city. Like there are things now that we get towards the end and we're like, oh man, there's definitely some differences in the way that Lakeland, there's just differences that are noticeable. Love for the young people to see that, to notice, hey, like my local vote also matters.
That's right.
Maybe kind of my last question here before we start to close up is, obviously the goal here would be stepping into the mayoral seat and being this role for the foreseeable future here in Lakeland. Do you have like hopefully these questions are a little bit different, but like, just like what, like, a long-term goal, a long-term vision for Lakeland. I guess another way to say that maybe is like, what would you love to see Lakeland like in the next 10 years?
Yeah. You know, I love Lakeland, and Lakeland is known throughout the country for its growth, its parks, its lakes, if you will. And is it possible? What if Lakeland was also known about the genuine, authentic relationships that its people have with each other as well as its local government? That when they move from, whether it's Georgia, whether it's from California, wherever they're coming from, South Carolina, North Carolina, they move here and they say, wow, not only is this a beautiful place, but the relationships that the people have with each other and their city leaders, this is what I like. This is hospitable. This is caring. This is home.
Yeah, community can change
Community
your life.
changes everything.
My wife and I moved away for a little bit, and we moved back just for that because we obviously love Lakeland and love the community that it brings. We already have so much of that, but it would be, to your point too, it'd be cool to see that continue to grow. You know, maybe beyond your friend groups or your churches or your teams, but like across our city. Well, hey, I really do appreciate your time, Cedrick, and thank you for being with me. Before we kind of head out here, I'd love to maybe just kind of roll out the red carpet for you and, you know, allow you a chance to maybe speak to the people who will be voting there in November and maybe how they can kind of keep up with you or follow along with the campaign.
You know, every once in a while, there comes a time where we all get to do something hard. And sometimes in doing something hard, it can be daunting, it can be challenging. But when we do it together, we see the outcome and resolve. Hey, at CedrickValrie.com, you can get to know a little bit more about me. We will love your help and support in every way. And I also want you to know that and continue to build a stronger community in Lakeland, we can do that which is hard and daunting. In fact, you can do hard things. We together can do hard things.
Awesome. Thanks, Cedrick.
Thank you, my friend. Blessings on you.